Well, it's time to do some work again on this tractor. And there's a lot. The main things I want to get done today or tonight are I want to get this drawbar assembly off of here, kind of remove this whole thing. It's already loose, so I don't think it's going to take too much. I don't know how heavy it's going to be because I need to get the 3-point kind of configuration on here, and I need to kind of do some modifying to that. I need to get the seat and all this stuff off with the hydraulics. I really should get the oil, at least the motor oil drained out of there, get that empty so we can begin the process of removing, you know, engine parts. And there's just a lot that needs taken apart. We're still in the disassembly process, but we're getting there. We're definitely a lot, you know, further ahead than we were a month ago when it was still sitting in the shop, or sitting in the shed, and it should have been in the shop. So there's a lot to do to this thing. You know, we're towards the end of January right now. This should have been in here like a month, 2 months ago. We just, I don't know, we kind of procrastinated, put other things first, and it's just been a disaster. And here again, you can kind of see what's happening with that wheel, tire. So that's a disaster in itself. First thing I would like to accomplish is probably remove this gas tank frame, or the gas tank mounting frame, and get this out of the way, because that's still kind of blocking our valve cover here. And then that kind of opens up a lot more space for everything else. You probably can't see them very well in there. Right there's one. Those bolts, I tried to mess with them a little bit. I don't have them all loose. There's at least 2 of them that are loose. I'll be shocked if they all come out. They look like they've been in there for a very long time, so hopefully they come out. Knock on wood with this thing so far, and I'm assuming because somebody had it apart before, but so far, everything is coming apart so far. The thing that I really like to do is I like to loosen and tighten. And I kind of go back and forth doing that, and it really seems to play a big role in not snapping bolts off. You'll actually feel it. It gets kind of tight when you're trying to loosen it, and then if you tighten it back, it gets loose, and then you can kind of break apart that rust, kind of junk in the threads, and usually you save yourself a big headache of snapping the bolt off. Unfortunately, I have to pull all the wires off of the generator, and on the other side one of the coil, because they run through that bracket. So unfortunately I have to unwire a bunch of this stuff. Just fine. I'm gonna mark everything so I remember where it goes. I do have a service manual. Someone added a plate here at one time. This bolt, there's a bolt back here. I ended up having to break that off from the main frame because there's no way that was gonna come out. It was about in the shape of these. So this is all rusted and rotted on the bottom, so somebody put a piece of sheet metal there for the battery tray. Overall, the rest of it, not in too bad a shape, but that gained us a lot better access to all this stuff underneath. And we're slowly gaining access to our valve controls, our whole assembly underneath here that we need to get access to be able to repair that leak. I also think, I don't know, I might repair or replace, I'll probably replace these ends. I really won't have to use them too often, to my knowledge, but I mean, this one over here is fine. We have this hydraulic hose hooked on it now, but it wouldn't hurt. These are really old, and you can see they're just, I mean, they still move and work, but they just don't look the best inside. We may be able to clean them up too, because those are pricey. So something I like to do when I rip everything apart, or a lot of pieces apart, is I like to take the bolts and put everything, if I can, back where they go. That way I don't have a whole lot of bolts laying around. And this seems to, this has worked for me for many years of ripping motors and everything else apart. It's just kind of less to have to worry about, and then when you go to put everything back together, you're not completely freaking out because you don't know what bolt goes where. Before I move to the back of the tractor, I'm just gonna pull off the carburetor. I'll probably pull the carburetor and the exhaust manifold off all in one. Then I don't need to worry about it. I do plan to get a rebuild kit for the carburetor, so that's on our list of things to do. But for right now, I just want to get all this off out of the way, and then we'll plug the holes up, and then we'll move to the back before we start tearing into the engine. Now the exhaust manifold, that is probably where the bolts are going to snap off. This is where the tightening method, tighten and loosen method comes in handy. Now that one came loose, but it got really loose. So I half wonder if it broke. No, it didn't. That's impressive. Loosen just a little, and then we'll tighten. It's actually, so far, coming loose pretty well. I managed to get it loose, so that's a plus. Whoa! Did not want to do that. Wouldn't have had to take them completely out either. Well, the engine is really starting to get exposed, so that's a plus. I'm just gonna pop all these out anyway for now. I wouldn't have had to, but I know this gasket needs replaced anyhow, considering it's broke. We're getting there, slowly but surely. This thing has come a long way in a very short period of time, actually. Definitely looks different. I must say, there's a lot of carbon buildup. I'll try and show you guys in here so you can see. I mean, it doesn't look the best. That's for sure. Not at all. I'm really curious. I might, because it's only 3 bolts, I'm thinking I might pop the valve cover just to kind of see what it looks like. And then we'll put that back on, and then we'll work our way to the back. Like I said, this is mainly because I'm curious. These weren't even very tight. Again, this is mainly just because I'm curious of what this looks like in here. Yeah, a little bit of gunk. And I'm sure the valves need adjusted and everything. The biggest thing, well, that's not good. That was just laying in there, that chunk of whatever. So hopefully that didn't come from anything. But I'm sure a lot of this stuff needs adjusted anyway. I know cylinders 1 and 2 up here in the front, or what I'm calling 1 and 2, they are the ones that had only 50 PSI. And we had a lot of smoke on startup, so I'm sure we have a leaky valve seals, and then we would always be having blue smoke burning all the time. So that tells me we have leaky valves, and we have rings that are probably leaking past too, and a lot of blow by. So that could mean we could get away with just doing rings, or we could get away with, we'd have to do a whole engine rebuild, which is gonna be sleeves, pistons, rings, the whole 9 yards. And quite honestly, while we have the whole thing apart like this, that's probably the better route to go, because doing rings most likely is not gonna solve our problem. I honestly can't wait to get the engine tore apart, just to see what it looks like, see how bad it is in there. And obviously at that point is when we're gonna make our decision. You know, can we just put rings in it? Can we get away with doing that? Again, I highly doubt it, and while we have it this far, we'd be crazy. You know, everything is tore off of this thing. We'd be nuts to not do everything. Now I can move to the back, where I'm probably gonna try and rip off this drawbar assembly, which shouldn't be too bad. It should just be a pin up there, and I should be able to pop these, loosen these a little bit. Some of these already are loose. This one's loose, and this side's loose. In fact, these are too. So I think everything was just kind of put in here from the previous owner. Grab an end. No? All right, I'll get it myself. Don't you worry. Appreciate the help. My tummy's starting to growl. I'm hungry. That's where I'm gonna call it a night. I need to start tearing into stuff with the engine probably. I need to get all the fluids and stuff drained before we start tearing into any of that. But definitely some progress is being made here. These wires are really, some of them are better than others, but some are really brittle. So I'll have to examine those. There's some rewiring we have to do. It's a mess. I hope you guys are enjoying. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're enjoying the series so far. This is gonna be episode 2. And there's gonna be a lot more where this comes from, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and definitely stay tuned. I'll see you next time.